Good morning. Happy Friday. We made it. Morale is high. Happy to have you guys here for the next 3 hours. We got Jackson back there making it go. Somehow Lucas has wormed his way into this studio. Good morning, bud.
Bribery goes a long way.
Who are you bribing?
Me.
Don't worry about it.
Are you somebody worth bribing?
I'm bribing my way all the way to the top.
Okay, everybody
20
talk
bucks and
over.
an icy I got in here.
Oh, this is swell that we're all talking over every one of us right out of the gate. Chemistry at an all-time high. Much like the Los Angeles Chargers last night, who were an absolute disaster. How about your boy, Brandon Staley? You've been on this, I feel, before anyone. I feel like you were the first voice on this guy is a clown fraud and should probably be fired for all of his stupidities. I feel like you were there first on this take.
Shocked that the Chargers have quit on Brandon Staley because that is what has happened.
So we've talked about the idea of professional athletes quitting. Have you all ever accused an athlete of quitting on social media or otherwise? In your darkest, deepest sports fan private moments, be honest, you're both smiling at me. You've done it. I know you have.
Not until just now.
Jackson?
I can't think of like an exact example, but I'm sure there's a Tennessee player back in the day that I just yelled at a television or something.
There's deferring all over the place around here. Point being, I don't like to do it very often, but last night the Chargers quit. Chargers flat out quit. This was Richard Sherman, Jackson, if you'll pull that from the Twitter group chat. Richard Sherman on the Amazon Prime halftime broadcast. Carissa Thompson brings it in out of half. They interviewed Brandon Staley at half as this Chargers team was languishing. 42-0 was the halftime deficit, and they said, we want Staley on television. And to his credit, he did the interview, down 42-0. It ended up being 63-21, the final margin of victory. I went to bed, I think, at 35-0. I think that was the point where I said, okay, this is enough. This is ridiculous. Your microphone was not on.
That's where I turned it off.
Why is this so hard?
We're in new environments.
What's wrong? What's wrong with you two?
Too much change.
Okay. Are we going to be able to get through the show today?
TBD.
Okay. We'll find out together. This was Richard Sherman calling for a firing at halftime.
First halves I've seen from a team, just looks like they've given up. They've quit. They've packed their bags. They packed all their suitcases. They booked their vacations, and they're ready to go. Brandon Staley, I hate to say this because you don't ever want to call for somebody's job, but they should fire him they should make history. They should fire him at halftime. They should just, hey, we got an Uber X carpool outside, and we'll send you on your way, because right now I've never seen a team come out this uninspired to start. Be careful if it's not.
Courtesy of Amazon Prime.
A carpool. You're not even going to get him like a Uber XL, like a nice Uber. You're going to get him a car. He is going to have to share it with the fans who are leaving the game because he's down 42-0.
He's going home in a Nissan Altima.
With the one Chargers fan. What happened to crazy Chargers super fan lady? Is she still out there? Is she in tears?
She's given up too.
Does she also have a pitchfork and a torch? How the hell does Brandon Staley still have a job this morning?
It's so over, right? Like the Staley era in L.A. It's so over.
It needs to be. Do you remember when Vontae Davis retired at halftime when he was a Buffalo Bill? Vontae Davis, the corner, retired at halftime. I would think that Brandon Staley, have some pride, retire at halftime, get out, leave, call your own Uber. That you have no business. Nobody wants to see you in that locker room. Nobody wants to see you in that stadium other than the Chargers fan or the Raiders fans who are jeering you as you vigorously jog at halftime into the tunnel after doing an interview down 42-0. Get the bleep out. For as bad as you feel at 5-8, I remind you, it can always be worse. The Chargers are a clown show. The Chargers have wasted what is the most valuable thing in all of professional football, which is the rookie contract of a quarterback. They're already paying Herbert $50+ million a year. That defense is as expensive as anything, and again, allowed 42 points in the first half. It's one of the highest paid defenses in football. They have all the talent in the world. Chargers are the biggest fraud in the sport. Again, I don't know how. The only thing that makes sense to me is it's not like this Phillip Rivers curse that still hangs over their head where you're trailing by 6 with 42 seconds left on the clock, no timeouts, and 70 yards to go, right? The perpetual existence of Phillip Rivers before he throw a death pick and then make a face. Does ownership not care about being nationally embarrassed that way? Are they just indifferent to the state of their football team? They don't seem to care very much about like the general state of the Chargers fan base. There aren't that many of them.
It's been a joke ever since they moved to LA. Nobody in that town cares about the Chargers and what's happened the last 3 years. I mean, year one of the Brandon Staley era, 9-8, and remember his coaching directly impacted them missing out on the playoffs in that Raiders game where a tie would have had them both in the postseason.
That's as mad as I've seen you. That and Lincoln Riley's defense.
2022, 10-7, they make the playoffs, finish second in the AFC West. One of the biggest collapses in NFL playoff history against Jacksonville, in Jacksonville. And then
disaster. Oh, my God, I forgot about that Jags-Chargers playoff game. How could you? How could you?
What was their lead in that game?
Oh, it was something. It was 3 scores, I think. Because the comeback was miraculous. I think we were in a Broadway bar. I don't think I was with you. I don't remember who I was out with at the time. Because
27-0 was the lead.
Oh. How he survived that is crazy to me. That's the thing. Like, you're saying they've been a joke since they've moved, and they continue to be a laughing stock. Does nobody care? Does nobody running that thing care? Imagine being Kellen Moore, who just left the Cowboys gig, and now Dak is the leading MVP candidate by most sports books that you see around, but straight up just left the Cowboys OC job to go and take a lateral move to be the Chargers OC job because that was supposed to be the gig that everybody wanted. Everybody's going to want Brandon Staley's job, right? I don't know what the hell is going on there, but I feel like I get fooled. I think I get annually fooled by that franchise more than any other.
Well, it's going to be an attractive job.
Sure.
Sean Payton wanted that job.
There will be a lot of people that want that job. I'm just saying, like, the reason that these organizations stay bad is because something's wrong at the top. That Brandon Staley, the ghost of Brandon Staley, is still walking around the halls. Can I hear from the ghost of Brandon Staley, also in the group text Jackson, who gave some of the more head-scratching comments last night after being blown out 63-21 on national TV.
What could you have done differently in preparation to get these guys better prepared to play tonight?
Everything. I didn't do anything well enough to get us ready to play tonight.
So if that's the case, then why should you be the coach? If that's
games like this happen in the NFL. To every coach that's ever coached in this league, you can look at any great coach that's ever coached in the league. Sometimes games like this happen, and I don't need to retrace history, but it's part of sports. Sometimes there are games where it doesn't go right, none of it, and you got to put it behind you and you got to move on to the next thing.
Thoughts around the room?
When's the last time we saw a result as embarrassing as this? It happened this season.
Oh, the Broncos.
Yeah, 70-20, right? And that's Sean Payton in year one taking over a mess, and the Broncos, to his credit, have improved since then. But outside of that, and all we could talk about after that Dolphins-Broncos game was how historic that Dolphins-Broncos game was. Well,
all we could do is laugh at Sean Payton.
This was as close as you can get to that. And Brandon Staley's in year 3, not before the midway point of year 1, the way Sean Payton was. And Sean Payton is showing improvement in Denver. They've won, 6 of their last 7? So, no, this doesn't happen to every coach in the NFL. It just doesn't.
Even if that is the case, okay? Because the Titans had this last year, right? The Buffalo game was this. I mean, it was this kind of laughably embarrassing. It was on national television. Everything went wrong.
Yep.
We all consider Mike Vrabel. And listen, we're going to talk about some Vrabel stuff because just because they beat the Dolphins doesn't mean that they're like a flawless organization again. We've got to dig into some of this stuff on Traylon Burks. It was pointed out by my friend and colleague James Foster at A to Z Sports Film Room. But the Titans had one of these results last year. Even if that is the case, okay, I'm willing to. Bill Belichick just got his ass kicked twice in the biggest margin of defeat back-to-back weeks that he's ever had while having a pretty stout defense. Their offense is horrendous, but like this just happened to Belichick. So I'm willing to hear Staley out. Don't say it at a podium. Don't say it at a podium when there is no hotter seat in the National Football League than yours, bud. Don't give me the excuse publicly for writers to write down, for us to play on sports talk radio in Nashville, Tennessee. Don't say that out loud. Are you insane? Are you insane? We are going to drag you, bury you, rightfully so, even if it is the truth. You fundamentally misunderstand the context of which the NFL is discussed and covered. And if you don't have the self-awareness to keep the quiet part internal instead of out loud, he's making missteps all over the place. He can't be sleeping at night. I mean, he has to be miserable. He has to be miserable. He's a national laughingstock. These coaches are miserable people anyway, even when they're winning. Just perpetually unhappy human beings during the course of their season. That one, I bet, is, seeing ghosts at night. But still, you cannot, when everybody is paying attention, hanging on every word that you're saying, say that out loud for that to make the rounds today.
42-0 at halftime. I mean, they just laid down out the gates against a 5-8 team that scored 0 points last week.
That's the thing.
They scored 0 points against the Vikings.
It's not like it was Tom Brady on the other side. It was Aiden O'Connell. I mean, this whole thing. Anyway, we don't have to get bogged down. Cameron Wolfe of the NFL Network. We'll see if Cam knows why. Maybe it's just that people in Los Angeles have yet to wake up. It's about 8 a.m. there, Pacific time at this point. Maybe it's just that Dean Spanos has not yet awoken for the day. Maybe he, too, went to bed at halftime and thought, maybe it'll get better. Maybe they're the Titans against the Dolphins. We'll talk to Cam Wolfe of NFL Network coming up next. QC Kinetics is here to make sure that you don't go through another year with that awful joint pain. Call them right now and make 2024 the year you are back to living normal life again. QC Kinetics can give you your life back. They are the nation's leader in regenerative medicine. These are all natural treatments that can repair and restore that damaged tissue, giving you pain-free movement. QC Kinetics has tens of thousands of satisfied patients around the country, people who had knee, back, shoulder pain, who were able to get lasting relief with no surgery, no drugs, and no downtime. If you have pain from an old injury or pain associated with arthritis, you need to check this out. The future of medicine is here. Regenerative treatments from QC Kinetics. So make the call now so you can get the most out of 2024. And don't forget, you can use your HSA and FSA funds. Call QC Kinetics now at 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024. Welcome back to the show. Coach Mack will be on with us at 11:20 today. Talk a little Titans and Texans with him. Cameron Wolfe of the NFL Network will join us here in just a little bit. Should I call him Hating-Ass Cam Wolfe? Is that how I should refer to him during the interview? How DeAndre Hopkins went at him after giving the best interview DeAndre Hopkins has given all season, which is frustrating. We'll get Cam's perspective. He was obviously on the sidelines for NFL Network of the Monday Night Football game. That's home field for Cam there in Miami, in South Florida.
What's the context there? That D-Hop was upset that Cam mentioned an offensive PI that wasn't called?
The OPI that was not called on the 45-yard reception.
Before the half.
That allowed the Titans to set up to get points before the half. I think that, D-Hop is very present on social media, it seems. And for him, he doesn't seem to it's kind of like McAfee a little bit. He's very reactive to the criticism. We talked about Pat McAfee in College Game Day yesterday. Yep, got a little McAfee to him in that moment. But we'll get Cam's perspective on that. We'll see which sideline he's on this weekend as the Texans come to town. For Tennessee, we went through some of the stuff on defense yesterday after Arden Key hopped off. And Cosell, if you haven't heard the clip from the install, we talked about a lot of different things coming out of that game, how the Titans game plan successfully for that Dolphins offense. And, of course, Tyreek Hill missing a quarter and a half basically had a huge impact on that game for how well they were able to stay in it or hold the Dolphins offense down, an offense that had been spectacular to that point, for sure. But how well they held up in coverage without Fulton, without Simmons there to help the rush and stuff like that, I don't know if that's a one-off. I don't know if that I'm trying to figure out how much of that is real and how much of that is just football happened for one night type of stuff.
Will Sunday not be a perfect case study for that?
Sure.
As the Texans limp in to Nissan Stadium without Tank Dell, I'm not sure what Nico Collins' status is going to be.
I'll pull up the injury report.
Noah Brown's been banged up.
It does feel like an imminently winnable game, which is going to have the BTS at an all-time high. We asked this on a poll question at Buck Rising on Twitter is where you can vote on the polls. What is your level of BTS? What are people responding so far? That's battered Titan syndrome for those unfamiliar.
How do you think people are feeling about Sunday with the assumption that Davis Mills is going to be in for the Texans at quarterback?
I bet they're pretty scared.
You think people are scared?
I think
you
people
think
are scared of that giraffe neck quarterback coming in here and throwing for 330 yards.
You think are they more scared of Davis Mills or Gardner Minshew?
Minshew. They fear the mustache.
I will say I don't think BTS is as much of a thing as you want it to be.
I don't think that's true.
Karen in the reply says an 8 out of 10 is her level of battered Titan syndrome against the Texans on Sunday.
I think that's high.
That is high. Is
that not reflective of an overwhelming amount of BTS? Does that not require medication?
It's just one submission. Karen is the only person to have replied to the poll so far.
Oh, I didn't think did we not give them options?
I feel like BTS is a thing that you're trying to make a thing. That's not as much of a thing as, definitely not as much as BVS.
Well, that's because that's a 100-year-old fan base that has seen all kinds of horrifying things, mostly in the last 20 years, and is a bit shell-shocked. A bit scared to trust. They're like a stray dog that's been out on the street for too long. Like, they want to get close to you. They want the love. They want the pets. They want the treats. But they're scared because they're scared that you're going to run away or take them in the house or something like that. Like something bad is going to happen to them. It feels like a stray dog type of situation.
But Titans fans are also in an odd place this season, at this stage of the season, because however things shake out, you have something to fall back on after every game. Like Monday, a thrilling win in Miami against a contender for the 1 seed in the AFC, where you hope that was a defining moment for your rookie quarterback, and you feel good about that, how rookies impacted that game. And in the event that the Titans lose, fans can fall back on that helping draft position with the very slim chances to get into the postseason. So I feel like there is a weird sort of comfort in that winning and continual growth from the young players and the foundation that's being set for this next iteration of the Titans is something that is going to make the fans feel good and will bring juice to the season, whereas losing obviously would result in a higher pick, which some people want anyway. I'm not saying you should root for losing. I never think that. But it's just an odd place to be as far as you're not devastated if the Titans don't win out. With that being said, you got to beat the Texans in the Oilers uniforms.
Oh, is it just because they're wearing the Oilers uniforms?
Yes, you just can't lose to Houston in the Oilers uniforms.
What do you think the conversation would be like elsewhere in the city of Houston? Can we transport ourselves to doing Houston sports talk radio in the theoretical situation that the Titans lose wearing the Houston Oilers uniforms to the Texans, who are starting Davis Mills and God knows who else out there? Because it's not just the offense. The defense is banged up too. The injury report reads like this. They're both pretty lengthy through a couple of days of practice. But for the Texans, Will Anderson is in a walking boot. Did you see this? Aaron Wilson of one of the local TV stations down there reported that Will Anderson was seen in the locker room in a walking boot and was DNP again, dealing with an ankle injury. So there's that. Nico Collins, DNP, dealing with the calf situation. George Fant, of course, who Titans fans were sorry to see not take a veteran minimum contract to come here. Did not practice with a hip injury. And Dalton Schultz, the tight end, a full participant, coming off the hamstring injury that he suffered. Stroud, of course, concussion, did not practice second straight day. Highly unlikely, not yet ruled out, but highly unlikely for Sunday.
Laramie Tunsil did return as a full participant.
That's important. Laramie Tunsil, I'm not going to say that Laramie Tunsil is as responsible for their success as C.J. Stroud is, but he's a huge part. I mean, he is very well compensated, for sure, but he's almost underpaid for how much better he's made and helped that rookie quarterback be right out of the gate. You don't have to worry about his left side. I mean, there's been some snaps where I think Josh Allen has gotten Laramie Tunsil a couple of times this year, but for the most part, he's kept that quarterback entirely clean. It's child's play out there for him. I don't know who the best left tackle in football is right now, but I bet he's up there.
He's the highest paid.
He's definitely the highest paid. Trent Williams got to be 35 years old, but still, he's a freak. So like what Trent Williams is able to do at his age continues to be spectacular. He has to be in that discussion, but Laramie Tunsil is phenomenal.
So as we talk about what the Titans were able to do in coverage against one of the best wide receiver corps in the NFL in Miami, obviously knowing Tyreek Hill missed a lot of that game, who's the biggest threat on the outside for the Texans, knowing that they come in without Tank Dell and we'll say Nico Collins not exactly trending towards playing. He hasn't practiced all week. Nico Collins, their lead receiver. He's already over 1,000 yards for the season. Tank Dell's right behind him. Dalton Schultz is their third leading receiver this season, the tight end, who did practice yesterday.
You know who I'm going to say.
You're going to say Bobby Trees.
Titans legend. Now, listen. They have let, I won't say bad receivers, they have let past their prime receivers kill them before, specifically in Texans uniforms. How the corpse of Danny Amendola did to them in a game that they almost lost in Houston at the end of the season a couple of years ago with, by the way, Davis Mills at quarterback. That's like Tim Kelly deserves a 5-year extension on his Titans contract just for what the hell that game looked like. That was ridiculous. I think it was Molden that Amendola was just out there scorching. But, well, he's not helping very much either. I don't think he's playing football this year.
What do you think Robert Woods' numbers look like this season?
Well, I have them in front of me. He's got.
That's a shame. Jackson, what do you think Robert Woods' numbers look like this season?
Are you alleging that Jackson is unprepared?
No, I'm curious. I'm just curious, as someone that probably hasn't been watching the Texans week in and week out, what you project Robert Woods has done this year with Houston. Just give me a number of yardage.
434.
It's not that far off. 324.
I mean, that's pretty far off.
100 yards off.
I mean, when you've only got 324 yards of offense, 100 yards of offense is a big deal, bud. That's not a small amount.
Didn't he have like 434 with the Titans last year? What was his Titans receiving totals? How close is he in a Texans jersey?
He with 4 games left, he could eclipse his receiving total with Tennessee last year, which again speaks to the bleep show that was the Tennessee Titans passing game a year ago.
Well, C.J. Stroud's thrown 20 touchdown passes this season, and two players that have caught 13 of those combined, and Nico Collins and Tank Dell, are not going to be playing on Sunday. Tank Dell for sure. Nico Collins probably not.
Cam just gave me the all clear, Jackson, if you want to buzz him back. He was finishing up a call, so we'll get Cam Wolfe on the line and get his thoughts on this. We'll also play back that interview that Cam did, or a part of that interview that Cam did, specifically with DeAndre Hopkins, asking him about Will Levis and his perspective on the Texans. I think Cam's done a couple of Texans and Jacksonville games this year, given that is closer to his home base. But for this game, there are so many different reasons why the Titans should win. That immediately makes me skeptical. I don't think that's unfair, by the way. We've talked about this a little bit this week, and I swear to God, I'm not trying to kill people's good vibes coming off that Dolphins game, but like, I still don't trust them. I don't know why anybody would immediately start to trust the Tennessee Titans, specifically their offense, just because they pulled off a bit of a miracle in Miami. But we'll get Cam Wolfe's perspective on that. He was on the sidelines down there at Hard Rock. What's
for the
happening,
biggest upset in NFL history.
Oh, relax.
Some are saying.
So dramatic. Hey, Cam.
What's going on, Buck? How you feeling?
We're good. We're bickering. Vibes are high on a Friday, and, for once, Titans fans have a win to cheer about, which is a rare enough thing around here anymore, bud.
Absolutely. It's a good week to be a Titans fan, right?
Indeed. So that was insane. Where does that rank? Have you done every Dolphins game this year?
I've done just about every Dolphins home game this year.
Okay.
I would say, because they've been good, I've been with them a lot at home. And that's the first game they've lost all season at home, which was impressive. And I'll give you a little behind the scenes, just kind of maybe me and you, Buck. I don't want people to care about this, but I go down to the field to prep for a one-on-one interview about 6 minutes left in the game. And usually you have a good idea of what side of the field you're going to be on. And so I'm on the Dolphins side of the field. I'm talking with the Dolphins PR staff about what players we're going to get for post-game and what it's going to look like. And then all of a sudden, I see the game. I'm on the sideline. I see the game start to evolve. And I'm like, holy crap, this game isn't over. The Titans might actually win this game. And only the second time this has happened, I had to walk across the field to the other sideline after Will Levis leads them for that last drive and Derrick Henry gets in to get to the Titans sideline. And I'm literally like watching the faces of some Dolphin staffers as I'm walking behind the end zone to the Titans side. And they know what I know, that I think that the Titans are going to win this game. And so it's only happened to me one other time. It was a Jaguars-Ravens game, crazy game last year, where there was like a wild comeback at the end. But yes, that's probably one of the wilder comebacks I've ever seen, especially given the circumstances of, the Titans being 14-point underdogs, and they were the ones who led the comeback.
NFL Network's Cam Wolfe here with us on 104.5 The Zone. So the post-game interview that he did was with DeAndre Hopkins. We have a portion of that, Jackson, right, where Cam asks D-Hop specifically about the rookie quarterback and the comeback, the first come-from-behind victory to Will Levis's career.
I saw a dog out here today. That kid is going to be great, man. I'm always in his ear trying to help him, read defenses and be better. I know he still got a lot in his tank. I know he can improve, even though, he came out here and beat these guys today. But I'm going to still be on the Monday when we go back and let him know that there are certain things that he can improve on. But, man, Will show heart. I love competing and playing with him.
That's a great answer that you got from him, Cam. What did you make of the exchange with D-Hop?
I think that it was a good revelation into him because, for us, those of us on the outside of the building, and maybe even you guys, most publicly thing I've seen from Hopkins and Will Levis is them yelling at each other on the sideline, or Levis yelling at Hopkins a couple games ago. And so I wasn't sure what his relationship was with the rookie quarterback. Like, you have a veteran like Ryan Tannehill gets benched, who Hopkins came here to play with. I'm curious just kind of what his mindset is. So for him to be as strong as he was, calling him a dog, calling him saying he's going to be great, and talking about how they help each other or how he helps Levis, I think that told me a lot about how Levis has grown in his mind since they've been playing together. And that gave me a lot of hope that he could be the guy here long term, because the veteran quarterbacks, especially ones like DeAndre, they're going to tell you the real. I don't think that he's going to give me some BS just because they won a game. And so him saying that I think goes a long way to Will Levis's chances of being the guy here. And it really opened my eyes up to Levis's growth within the building, what he's done to change maybe some minds of his teammates and even some people on the coaching staff.
Well, he's going to keep it real with you until you accuse him of OPI on a critical 45-yard.
Yeah, he was not happy at all. And so he called me a hater for saying he had OPI on Hopkins, on Howard, which I do agree that he still had OPI, but it is what it is. Everybody's not going to love every opinion he has. So I didn't take any personal effect to it. I've got guys mad at me sometimes, and it'll happen again. So I'm gonna call it how I see it.
Absolutely. No, I mean, it was OPI, and I was laughing because it was the best interview that anybody's done with him all season, Cam. And then he came into the locker room. He was a little salty about something, trying to figure out what the hell's his deal. They just won this football game. We're not asking him any super hardball questions. He just seemed a bit sour. And then I saw him on Twitter afterwards. I'm like, oh, that's how it goes.
Yep.
It's just another day at the office.
I'm sure he saw the interview and scrolled down my Twitter feed and saw I made a tweet about that play, and he was not happy. And so, to be fair to Hopkins, there was a lot of physical play. I think he mentioned 2 plays later. He thought that Howard got him with DPI, and I watched it back, and Howard was handsy. And so a lot of physical play both sides, but that does not change my opinion that he got away with a low OPI. But, hey, that's a veteran receiver move. To me, that's not a negative. That should be you taking that as a positive that you had a vet move and you got away with it. But, everybody takes it differently, and, he can feel how he feels, and I appreciate it for the time. I'm glad that we got a good interview out of it.
Absolutely. It's not a penalty unless somebody throws a flag. Cam Wolfe of the NFL Network here with us on 104.5 The Zone. Where are you this weekend?
So I'm actually in Atlanta right now. I am prepping for Celebration Bowl. I've been doing some help with the league between Howard and FAMU, some HBCU schools, the HBCU National Championship. So doing some panels here, and then I'm heading back to Miami tomorrow. I've got a Dolphins-Jets game on Sunday. So a little busy week, a couple cities, but I'll ultimately be back in Miami for game week.
Do you look forward to Dolphins-Jets? I don't know. AFC Offensive Player of the Week, Zach Wilson, seemed a bit strange to me to see on my timeline this weekend. What do you feel about that matchup right now, especially the Dolphins coming off a loss?
Yeah, so the Dolphins are trending the wrong direction. I mean, they lost the home game to the Titans. They are very injured at this point. Their offensive line is banged up. Tyreek Hill hasn't practiced all week. He's going to be questionable, but he hasn't practiced after that Sean Murphy Bunting twist of the ankle on the sideline. And so without Tyreek, we saw on Monday how in flux, it's probably the kind way to say it, that Dolphins offense looks without him. The more accurate way could say that they were completely out of whack without Tyreek. And so I think they're at a precarious spot because they've got the Jets, and then they have the Cowboys, the Ravens, and the Bills in their season. So not a easy stretch of games, and they have not locked up this division yet either. And so we were just talking about them getting a 1 seed a week ago, and now they're in a position where they've got to protect their division. So the Jets are dangerous because of that defense. I do think that this may have been a aberration or one game for Zach Wilson. I don't know if he's all of a sudden going to turn around his season. But it's a division opponent. It's supposed to be really rainy down there on Sunday, which I'm going to hate on the sidelines. But it's supposed to be getting several inches of rain, which makes it nasty, and anything can happen on those rainy division games.
Cam, is Tyreek Hill a legitimate candidate for MVP in your eyes? And if he is to miss Sunday's game, how much would that damage his chances at it?
I think he should be. We actually asked Tyreek this last week before the game, and he said that he doesn't think it's realistic for any wide receiver to win the award because it's a quarterback award. And I think that he would have a really hard chance because of that. Quarterbacks are the most valuable players on the field in general, and so it's hard not to vote for a quarterback. But if he got the 2,000 yards that he's still on pace for, becoming the first receiver to do that, this is a year where there's not an overwhelming MVP. You could argue Dak, you could argue Brock Purdy or Lamar Jackson, but there's no overwhelming option. I think that he should certainly be in the MVP case, and I think Monday's game actually should have helped his case because, like I mentioned, there was a lot of conversation on, is this mostly Tua? Is this mostly Tyreek? But when Tyreek was out of that game for those 2 quarters, the Dolphins' offense was awful. And so If he does miss Sunday's game, it's going to be hard because I think he has to do something record-setting, kind of like when Russell Westbrook won the MVP because he got a triple-double, averaged a triple-double.
Right.
I think he has to do something special like, hey, win the Triple Crown, get over 2,000 yards, do something no receiver's ever done for him to be a legitimate option.
At Cameron Wolfe on Twitter, on X is where you follow him. You can see him on the sidelines on NFL Network throughout the course of the week. My guy, I appreciate you taking some time. I know you're busy.
Absolutely. Appreciate you, Buck. Y'all have a great one.
That's Cam Wolfe with us on 104.5 The Zone. We will get into some what do you want to talk about coming up next with the SEC stat of the day? Because there are no SEC football games for still about 2 more weeks in this purgatory that is bowl season hell. What are we talking about next?
Let's talk Iowa football.
Oh. I reacted to the Iowa football thing like somebody hit me in the chest. What a tease. Keep listening to the radio, please, God, while I tell you about the gambling clinic. If you are somebody who has gotten financially overextended because of your gambling habits or because you've experienced some issues with your gambling addiction or feel that you are trending towards gambling addiction, the Gambling Clinic is a great resource for you. They will work with you to identify all the different harms that gambling causes you specifically and then work to correct the problem over the course of 8 to 10 weekly individual sessions with someone trained to help with gambling problems and addiction. Most people gamble for fun without any problems whatsoever, but about 5% of people report spending too much money on gambling, getting into arguments at home over gambling habits, or other issues that can arise. If this is something that you identify with, go to thegamblingclinic.com for more information. That's thegamblingclinic.com. This project is funded by the Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services. Dua Lipa gets the people going. Iowa football does not. That's how Lucas teased the SEC stat of the day. That must mean we're talking Citrus Bowl, but not Orange Bowl. It's the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl for reasons that are unbeknownst to me, other than sponsorship dollars.
Speak for yourself on Iowa football not getting people up to watch it, because
the punter gets people going.
Iowa was one of the more talked about teams in college football this year.
For all the wrong reasons.
Sure.
Give me the music before he gets into this.
Let's talk about SEC, baby. Let's talk about the SEC. Let's talk about Nick Saban and Josh Heupel in the SEC. Let's talk about SEC, baby. Let's talk about the SEC. Let's talk about Brian Kelly and Greg Sankey in the SEC. Let's talk about SEC.
Let's talk about the Citrus Bowl. Tennessee and Iowa. You know, I actually think this game will rank pretty high as far as ratings are concerned in bowl season, partially because of Tennessee fans. But I really think that for the sickos of college football, for which there are many, or of which there are many, I should say.
The whole committee devoted to sickos.
Right. I think people enjoy and are attracted to Iowa games just for the fact of being disgusted by Iowa games. Tell me if you think I'm wrong. Iowa was one of the more talked about teams of the season with the drive to 325 for offensive coordinator Brian Ferentz. Iowa has been this conundrum people have been trying to figure out. Is 10-2 a successful season? Is 10-2 and yet another appearance in the Big Ten championship
they won
game?
10 games.
Despite horrendous showings over and over offensively. And to their credit, their quarterback did go down. Cade McNamara, the Michigan transfer, went down in the middle of the season, out for the year. So it's really hard to look at this Iowa team and judge if it was a success or not as it gets ready to face 8-4 Tennessee in the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl. Iowa, the number 17 team in the country, the 10-win team involved. Tennessee, the number 21 team in the country. Buck, what do you think the spread looks like for this game?
Oh. Tennessee by 6.
8.5. Tennessee
8.5.
favored by 8.5.
Okay.
The over-under is 36.5 between Tennessee and Iowa.
Oh, God.
So when you look at the over-under, the question here is,
So bad.
can Tennessee hit that by itself? Because that almost feels like the best chance for the over to hit in this game. So can Tennessee do that? Brent Hubbs was on with Ramon, Kayla, and Will this morning. You can go back and listen to it on the podcast. A lot of great information. He said he does not believe that Jalen Wright and Jabari Small will play in this bowl game. The two Tennessee running backs. Does not expect them to play. Jalen Wright, Tennessee's first 1,000-yard rusher since Jalen Hurd in 2015. And Jabari Small, a veteran, had 95 carries, 475 yards, 2 touchdowns. Those two guys accounted for over 60% of Tennessee's run game this season. So in comes Dylan Sampson with the bigger role, who had a nice season, 86 carries for 471 yards. He had 7 touchdowns. I think 3 or 4 of those were in week 1 against Virginia. And Cameron Seldon, who only toted it 12 times this season for 51 yards. This is where the opt-outs, I think, can be beneficial for some teams because Tennessee gets a chance to take an early look at Cameron Seldon, who's going to have to figure into this rotation next season, especially because it looks like all signs are pointing to Jabari Small and Jalen Wright not coming back, even though they are technically eligible. Hubbs also said he expects Joe Milton to play. One last go-round for Joe Milton in the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl. So let's look at how these teams stack up. Buck, where do you think Tennessee ranked in the final numbers of the 2023 SEC season in yards per game on offense?
Top 60?
In the SEC.
Oh. I'll say 7th. Fourth. Really?
Yeah, a little bit
What's
better.
skewing that there?
Then I think, well, they averaged 453 yards per game.
Okay.
Behind Ole Miss, who averaged 455, Georgia 488, LSU 547 behind Heisman Trophy winning quarterback Jaden Daniels. Missouri 442 yards per game this season in a 10-win year for the Tigers. So
wait, did Scott Frost Iowa's OC now? Is that a thing? Somebody just pointed that out in the chat. I haven't had time to vet that. That seems like fairly significant college football news if that is indeed the case.
Those rumors have been swirling this week.
Okay, I didn't know if that was a suggestion. Like, how about Frost becoming Iowa's OC, or if Agent Estott, who just pointed that out, is saying, how about Frost becoming Iowa's OC? I can't tell what the tone is there. I'm confused.
There are rumors. There seems to be noise around Scott Frost being Iowa's offensive coordinator.
Whispers.
Interesting. I don't know how I would feel about that as an Iowa fan. I don't know.
As long as it's not another Ferentz kid, I don't think you care.
Sure, fair enough. Anything is better than what they've had in Brian Ferentz. So where do you think Iowa ranked in the Big Ten in defensive yards per game allowed?
Second.
Fourth. Fourth behind Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State. Iowa defensively allowed 274 yards per contest. A lot of good defense played in the Big Ten this season.
A lot of bad offense.
So there's the matchup. Tennessee against Iowa's defense with Joe Milton at quarterback, but a new cast of characters at running back. No Jalen Wright, no Jabari Small. And I truly have no idea what to expect from this game. Tennessee at surface level feels like it had a very down year offensively, and it was to the standard that Josh Heupel has set over the first 2 years.
Clearly much worse than I thought it was, or much better than I thought it was.
Yeah, top 4 offense in the SEC in yards per game. They go up against an elite defense in Iowa, and I'm biased, but what I think is one of the more hilariously intriguing bowl games of bowl season. Name a more hilariously intriguing bowl game.
I mean, I can't, but I don't. Hilariously intriguing does not mean good. Like
Did I say good?
No.
I didn't say best matchup.
No.
I didn't say the most fireworks, the best television.
I know.
I said hilariously intriguing.
I just don't want to be miserable during this, and I fear that Joe Milton against Iowa is not something that I'm going to enjoy. I feel like Joe Milton with a bunch of new players around him, or a bunch of different players around him, against one of the best defenses in football. I feel like that's a disaster. I feel like that's wanting to gouge my eyeballs out by the end of the third quarter.
I can't wait.
No, I know. Well, are you disappointed? Quickly, the two of you, are you disappointed that Milton's playing and not Nico? I mean, it's not like we couldn't see Nico theoretically, but
would you like to see Nico and get a glimpse at him? Yes, but this has been Joe Milton's team all year. I don't know. What's the risk reward in telling your team? Because you also have to tell that to the locker room that's been aligned with Joe Milton all season.
Lucas, I didn't ask how the locker room felt. I asked how the two of you felt. I promise I won't tell him.
I'd like to see Nico, yes, but Joe Milton deserves the chance to play his final game as a Tennessee Volunteer.
Okay. Jackson?
I wasn't expecting to see Nico unless Joe opt out. Once the opt out passed, I expected Joe all the way. So disappointed is not the right word. I mean, we'll see Nico next August.
Joe said after the Vanderbilt game, we've got one more. I anticipated Joe Milton would play in this game the whole way. Brandon on the F&M Bank chat says tortoise versus the hare is the Citrus Bowl.
Not quite.
Don't love that if you're a Tennessee fan. Slow and steady wins the race. That's how Iowa won 10 games.
Oh, my God. Just choking people to death. All right. Most impressive backup quarterbacks this year. The AFC is littered with them. There's all kinds of matchups. There was one last night. It was entirely lopsided. We'll talk about them next.
It is 11:02. Good morning. I'm Lucas Panzica from the 104.5 The Zone studios. The Las Vegas Raiders were up 42-0 at the half and routed the Chargers 63-21 on Thursday Night Football as the Raiders improved to 6-8. LA falls to 5-9. The Tennessee Titans at 5-8 host the Houston Texans Sunday at Nissan Stadium in the second Oilers throwback game of the season. On Thursday, Danico Autry and Aaron Brewer returned to practice as limited participants. Jeffrey Simmons and Josh Wiley were among those that did not practice. The Lee Company countdown to kickoff hits the air at 9 a.m. on The Zone Sunday. Titans countdown is at 11 and kickoff with Mike Keith, Coach Mack, and the rest of the Titans radio crew is at noon. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Second hour, we got Coach Mack in just about 15 minutes. Welcome in. Welcome back. If you've been hanging out with us so far, we're happy to have you. Jackson's back there making it go. Lucas is in the studio. Friday Fire at 11:45. Make sure you bring some submissions. 615-737-1045 is the number. If you want to jump in, we'd be happy to have you. You also have the F&M Bank chat, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. Football Fred in the F&M Bank chat says the reporter who asked Staley why he should be the coach, why he should still be the coach, is absolutely cutthroat. I don't think so. I think that's a completely rational question to ask. It was rational to ask that question when the Titans lost in Jacksonville, after they got smoked in Jacksonville with Mike Vrabel. It was a fair question to ask. It's not cutthroat. But when you don't perform in this particular industry the same way, basically, and Blaine Bishop is the person I think who has taught me the most about this. You got to have the same energy for the coaches that you do for the players. If you're going to be so harsh and so critical on a snap in, snap out, down in, down out basis of these players, whether that's for fantasy football purposes, whether you're an emotional fan and they drop a pass or let the quarterback get away from them when you think they've got them wrapped up for a sack, all these different things. And these dudes get crushed on social media, and we're in there berating them, not berating them, but asking them questions about why you didn't do your job today. Why should that energy not be kept for the coaches? That's not cutthroat. I mean, it is, but that's football. Like, deal with it. Brandon Staley's a big boy, even if he's probably just petrified and not sleeping at night because of what the hell the Chargers did yesterday on Thursday Night Football. But as we talk about the Titans trying to continue to build off a win for the first time all season, back-to-back wins would be swell, even if it's late. Little too late. Never too late to get a win. Texans coming to town, and they will be sporting a backup quarterback in all likelihood, just like so many other AFC teams, just like so many other NFL teams this year. But the AFC is littered with them. Have you put together a list?
I'm going to read it really, really fast.
Okay.
Aiden O'Connell, Joshua Dobbs, Jake Browning, Easton Stick, Gardner Minshew, Mitch Trubisky, Tyson Bagent, Joe Flacco, Zach Wilson, Bailey Zappi, Tommy DeVito, Jameis Winston, Taylor Heineke. Did I leave any out?
I don't think so.
We have not seen Cooper Rush this year.
Does Levis count?
I was about to ask you that. Does Levis count? Now, he should count.
He should count.
The only reason Levis started initially was because Ryan Tannehill got injured.
Yeah.
So, yes, I think Will Levis should count.
Levis counts.
And if Levis counts, is Levis not the answer here? Of those names I just rattled off, who has been better than Will Levis? Who has shown more?
Well, I mean, by record.
Now, context is important here because I think.
No, you can't cherry pick your arguments. If I'm going to go by record and you're asking me which quarterback has done better, I'm going to pick the ones that have won more than Will Levis.
But I want to cherry pick my argument.
Okay. Must be something about this side of the glass that allows people to more easily cherry pick their arguments.
No, you're probably right. I mean, Gardner Minshew.
Gardner Minshew has been the best backup quarterback in football. He has kept the Colts are in the playoffs.
Yes.
The Colts are in the playoffs. Like it's They were not in the discussion at all. They, in fact, I think were the team. No, the Texans probably were the team that looked the most kind of science experiment in the division, at least going into this year. Colts, you knew what their roster was. The question was, could they get more out of it? Honestly, it's a credit to the coaching staff under Shane Steichen.
So take away who's been the best backup quarterback, who's been the most impressive, because then you bring context into it, and the likes of Tommy DeVito coming in a market like New York, relatively unknown name coming out of college, and he's just become this cult hero up there, and he's playing good football, and he led the Giants to a comeback win against the Packers on Monday night. So just that's the type of context that I'm talking about. Or Tyson Bagent, who comes up from Division II and is able to lead the Bears to more wins than Justin Fields initially.
I know, but it was
I understand, but I'm just using that as an example of context.
Okay.
Or Joe Flacco, dusty old Joe Flacco, getting called up off his couch, coming in and playing pretty well the last couple of weeks.
I'm 8 years younger than Joe Flacco. Don't call him dusty and old. You're not that much younger than Joe Flacco. Relax.
Is Flacco he's the oldest of this group, right?
Yeah, because he's dusty and old and he's 38. Absolutely. Joe Flacco's Super Bowl MVP season was 2012.
So which backup have we been most impressed by?
Oh.
Hit the news sounder.
Do it. Quickly.
Breaking sports news on 104.5 The Zone.
This from the Los Angeles Chargers Twitter account. I guess they had really just not woken up over there in L.A. I want to thank Tom Telesco and Brandon Staley for their hard work, dedication, and professionalism, and wish them both and their great families nothing but the best, said owner and chairman of the board, Dean Spanos. These decisions are never easy, nor are they something I take lightly, especially when you consider the number of people they impact. We are clearly not where we expect to be, however, and we need new vision. Doing nothing in the name of continuity was not a risk I was willing to take. Thank you, Dean. I add parenthetically, our fans have stood strong through so many ups and downs and close games.
Breaking Vols news on 104.5 The Zone.
What's happening?
Tennessee running back Jalen Wright has officially declared for the 2024 NFL Draft. Wright had 1,013 rushing yards. He led all SEC running backs with 7.39 yards per carry this season. He has put out a statement on social media that he is moving on to the next level.
Is that the first time we've ever had dueling laser light show sounds?
A little breaking news palooza there. That was fun.
The system did not know what to do when I hit it at first. It was like, what are you doing?
I was about to say, that thing is shaky at best back there, I feel like. Like half the time I go to audio, Lucas is probably lying to me when he says it's buffering. It's probably not actually buffering.
Only half the time do I lie.
That makes sense. Okay, so Dean Spanos woke up in L.A., saw the results of how badly his football team got embarrassed and decided to fire his GM and coach. So that's one thing. And then Jalen Wright heading to the NFL Draft, which is why he has opted out of the Citrus Bowl, which we just finished discussing moments ago. So this feels, I guess you're just trying to get a jump on the coaching cycle and now general manager cycle as much as humanly possible. I am so fascinated to see what the list of candidates look like. You can't hire a defensive head coach, can you? If it's almost like presidential cycles, like especially after you go 2 terms, like you're going to vote the other party, like the other party's going to be in office. People are just sick of whomever the party was that was occupying the Oval Office for a period of time. So having had Brandon Staley, who was a defensive-minded guy, and the defense just got shut out 42-0 at halftime, they got to turn around and hire an offensive coach, right? Is that why Kellen Moore is waiting in the wings?
I think it always depends. The Texans didn't have to turn around and hire an offensive coach, even though they were breaking in a rookie quarterback.
The Texans
with the
are
top
not an
5
example
pick.
I'm willing to use for this when they just hired and fired 2 coaches in back-to-back years.
Sure. But the Texans brought in DeMeco Ryans, who brought in a first-time play caller, and that's worked out pretty nicely in his first year. So
Sure.
Every situation's different. But yeah, if I'm a Chargers fan, I'm absolutely demanding an innovative, quarterback-friendly head coach.
So we'll see what that looks like. 615-737-1045 is the number if you would like to join the conversation. We will take some of your phone calls before we get to Coach Mack coming up next. That music on a Friday means Coach Dave McGinnis of Titans Radio is on the line. He's presented by Two Rivers Ford, the best car dealership around, powered by Ford, driven by people. Coach Mack and we both got our Ford Explorers from Two Rivers Ford. DeAndre Hopkins, a Ford, Two Rivers Ford customer. So many other people across 40 years doing business here in Middle Tennessee. TwoRiversFord.com for more information. Hey, Mac, happy Friday.
Buck, everything's good. I'm getting ready to go out here to practice as soon as you and I get through chopping it up. So everything's good. We got another beautiful day. I think it's going to be a little bit rainy on Sunday, but who cares?
Well, Davis Nolan has just updated us, as a matter of fact. Right now, he's not calling for rain. Looks like we're going to at least miss most of it. So positive news so far on a Friday morning.
My guy, Davis Nolan, what a great dude he is, by the way. And if he says it, I believe it. I love that. That makes this whole bit worthwhile that we're just doing right now.
Well, I'm glad something good for you. Coach Dave McGinnis here with us on 104.5 The Zone. Listen, injuries happen all over the place in the NFL, Mac, but the game plan that the Titans defense, the coaching staff, and the way that the players executed it in Miami, it's chef's kiss type of stuff. I thought they really did a phenomenal job taking away those first window throws from Tua, affecting the quarterback really in ways that nobody has really gotten to Tua so far this year with how quickly he's been getting away from the ball. I wonder how you saw it from your vantage point.
Well, of course, I've got a huge advantage because I'm at practice every day, and I watch them, and I've got a pretty good idea of what they're going to try to do. And you can see the one thing that they did a really good job of, Buck. You and I, we touched on it. Of course, we weren't able to talk last week because of the change of the schedule. But what they did was they really worked hard on not chasing, the various motions that Miami does. And Miami deploys a lot of different types of motions. Even, one guy go in motion set and then somebody else go in motion with the ghost motion. Most people, when you watch them, would try to chase that motion. They did not. They surrounded the motion, which was really smart. And so that closed those windows because, as you said, Tua was delivering the ball in 2.4, 2.5 seconds because it's an RPO offense. They did close those initial windows, and plus, they did some unique things with their multiple defensive back package that when watching them work on it and practice it, you think, if they can just make him hold it for that little extra tick, then they can probably put some pressure on the cylinder with four people, which they did. But it was the first thing they did. They were able to handle the motion part of it and not chase motion, and then they were able to deploy their defense, from the top of the numbers down. They really played from the outside of the numbers down. And so that they were saying, if you're going to go to the perimeter, then, that's where we'll chase you, but we're not going to give you, from the outside of the numbers up in the middle of the field, because that's where they really hurt people.
To do it without Jeff Simmons, to do it without Christian Fulton, and they've been, finding ways to get by with various pieces and parts, basically for the better part of 3 seasons, it feels like. But that Harold Landry is over the past, I would say about a month, Mac, seems to be rounding back into the form that we have come to expect from him over the course of his career. Has been both, necessary given who they're missing, and I'm sure gratifying for him to kind of work through that early stuff with the ACL, start to trust his knee again, and now really start to get into his rhythm.
Yeah, and of course ACL injuries, with elite athletes are all different depending on what their function is within their particular sport. But an edge rusher that's a motorcycle lean Gumby rusher, I mean that's vital to what they do. And I don't think it's so much trusting the knee, but it's getting back in because he missed a lot of football, because he was injured right at the end of training camp, last year. And so he missed a year of just playing football, and it takes you a while to get that going back, much less rehabbing your knee. So, yeah, I mean, he showed up in a big way. I thought that the entire defensive front, they did a really, really nice job of being able to contain the quarterback in the cylinder, because he's a cylinder thrower, and you can't let him manipulate that thing. And they were able to do that. And then, as I said, what we talked about previously, being able to close off the top of the numbers down inside lanes with the various deployments they were using in the back end. It really was a good marriage of a rush plan with a coverage plan that against a very, very explosive offense. They really did a good job with that.
Coach Dave McGinnis is here for his weekly visit with us, presented by Two Rivers Ford, who always makes his visits on the station possible. They also make Mac Talk possible, which you can hear right here every week during the football season. Mac and Rhett Bryan do an exceptional job answering people's questions. Also, the OTP, the official Titans podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, and everything that the crew is working on at TennesseeTitans.com. A little shorter stay for you in that radio booth from the last time that you were at Hard Rock Stadium, Mac. I could not believe. I got angry for you walking into that closet, that janitor's closet, seeing the viewpoint that the two of you had through windows that I mean have to be 100 years old. Those have to be left over from Joe Robbie. How the hell do you work in an environment like that?
Buck, that really seriously. I'm glad you came in there to look at it, because you can't really describe it. And most places that we have, I mean, we've got, pretty good setups. That is the absolute worst in the league. In fact, Jimmy Cephalo and Joe Rose, who do Miami's games, they came down and we were talking, before the game, and they said, Coach Mack, we just want to apologize again. I said, y'all can't do anything about it. I said, but it's awful. I mean, it's absolutely. And the other thing, Buck, I mean, in explaining this to our listeners, you know what this is like. Everything is backwards because we're calling on the opposite side from where the TV is.
Yeah.
So the official's got his back to us the whole time, and so when you look at the television, you're looking at it backwards as to how you're looking at it through those, as you call. I mean, I don't know what those windows were. Whoever thought they finally put sliding windows in, but they decided to put a big post right down the middle of them. So I mean, it is ridiculous. It really is, and I had forgotten really how small it was until we walked back in there again. So I'm glad when you and Jimmy Wyatt walked in and we were all squeezed in there like a clown car, and then where you got about 100 clowns coming out of that Donald Duck car. I am glad that you guys got to witness some of that.
Oh my God, it's negligence. Truly, nobody should have to work under those conditions. But Coach Mac, Mike Keith, they called an incredible game. It was an incredible game to watch play out. Mac, you've done a lot. You've been in the league a long time. Not to age you, my friend, but you've seen a lot of different results across the National Football League. Mac, that was one of the drunkest football games I think I've ever watched.
It was, I think I've been in close to 700 NFL games. There were things that happened in that game, but I've really never, ever, Buck, and I was going over this with Mike Keith the other day, trying to think back. Of course, there's been a lot of them, and that many. But the thing that was amazing about that game, first of all, the atmosphere. I mean, that was a big-time atmosphere down there. I mean, that was a legitimate national game. I mean, and against a good opponent. The thing that was amazing was you had a game plan, and you basically executed the game plan, and you won the game, then you lost the game, and then you won the game again. I've never seen it happen. I just never have been in that. And the roller coaster of emotions, I mean, after that one was over, I'm sure everybody was elated with the Titans, but you were worn out. I mean, we were just worn out, just emotionally. It was a great thing. It was a great thing, for the franchise, a great thing for our fan base, really great for this, for the coaches and the players, because they've continued to persevere through a pretty tough season, and all of that made it worthwhile. But I've never been involved in one, either coaching or broadcasting, that has had that many permutations to it. But you literally had the game won, and then you literally lost the game.
Yeah.
And then you came back and won it again. So the answer to that question, and it's valid, is no. I have not seen something like that before.
Vrabel in the post-game speech said, snatched victory from the jaws of defeat, and certainly it felt like that was as good a case for it as any. We're getting some injury updates from Houston, Mac, just to kind of fill you in of players being ruled out for Sunday. C.J. Stroud, Nico Collins, Will Anderson, I'm going to butcher his first name, Tavier Thomas, Blake Cashman, George Fant, all not practicing today and not playing Sunday at Nissan Stadium. This is a different kind of roster than this team has been working with throughout the course of the year.
Just like the Titans are, right? I mean, what you're talking about now is December football in the National Football League. I mean, it's December football, and of course, the Titans, have been going through this, in some form or fashion, for the last 3 seasons, and still going through it now. But that's what's happened in the National Football League, Buck. At this time of year, you're very fortunate if you have anywhere close to a semblance of who you had to begin the season with. And nobody is healthy, but when players are out this time of year, it's the wear and tear that's starting to beat down everybody. I mean, it really is. And so, plus, I mean, I have a hard time, I wouldn't say sympathizing, but a hard time feeling bad about anybody with injuries as to what this franchise has gone through for the last 2.5 years.
No, certainly not. That's when people were bringing up the injuries to the Dolphins' offensive line after that game was what I'm just looking around and being like, do you understand what this roster has looked like for the better part of 2.5 seasons? Coach Dave McGinnis here with us on 104.5 The Zone. Titans and Texans, Houston Oilers throwback game. Oilers radio this weekend again for the second time this season.
Coach, I was stunned when I heard Mike Keith say on Monday that Danico Autry, after blocking that field goal attempt, that was his 12th blocked kick of his NFL career. What is it about Autry's skill set that enables him to excel in that regard? And what's the key to getting through on field goals, Coach, and to rack up that many blocked kicks in one career?
Well, first of all, I mean, you have to study the protection, because the protections, there's always creases in protections, and you have to study it. And here's the other thing too, is you have to see, as to how not only people are protecting, but where you think you might be able, with the help of some of your other teammates as far as their position, where you might be able to get a crack. And then, I mean, look, Danico Autry is a throwback player. I love the dude. I talked to him yesterday, just to say, you know what, I really appreciate your game and your professionalism, because this dude he's what you want. I mean, he could have played in any era, but the effort to block, a kick, there's a lot that goes into it effort-wise, but there's a technique to it, and especially a big, long-bodied dude like him. But you study protections, which that's the special teams coaches' jobs, and to put it into the West teams, repertoire as far as to what they do. But yeah, and here's the other thing. I mean, the guy just, he plays all out every time he's out there, and so that's another thing. If you really want to see someone that's a maximum effort dude, in football, watch what they do. Watch what they do because some people just treat the rush team as a formality on extra point and field goals. But if you really treat it like a play that could turn the game, it makes a difference. Danico Autry, to me, is one of my favorite acquisitions that this team has made, throughout the time that I've been with the team, both coaching, and now doing the broadcast. So it didn't surprise me, because that's just who he is. And he's a pro's pro. I mean, and I know you guys know him, and you know what I'm saying to our listeners is true.
Absolutely. We have to have him back on the radio show, Lucas. We talked about helping him lead his Pro Bowl campaign this year, and we need to get behind that more, because the dude has been, again, a stud. Coach Dave McGinnis here, presented by Two Rivers Ford, powered by Ford, driven by people. TwoRiversFord.com is where you visit. So it will be Davis Mills. We've seen him before play against the Tennessee Titans. What do you make of him as a quarterback? What should people be looking for as far as the traits, Mac?
Well, here's the traits. I mean, he's a guy. He's a distributor of the football. He's a cylinder thrower, and he's a bigger quarterback. So he's got clear vision back there in the pocket, and he knows where to throw it. He came from collegiately, where they were throwing the football a lot, and so he's a very cerebral quarterback back there. I think we've played against him 3 times. Is that right, Buck? He's 1-2 against us.
Correct.
Of course, it's both different teams. But just the traits of the guy, as what you're asking, he's more of a cylinder thrower, a distributor of the football, and he protects the football very, very well. So if you're going to try to jump on, and if you're going to try to fool him into something, you're going to have to be really good on your side of it to take advantage of him, because he doesn't make many mistakes with the football.
They signed Derek Barnett off waivers a couple of weeks ago, Mac. The Texans did, and with Will Anderson out, obviously, they'll be leaning on a couple of different guys to try and get after the quarterback. Has he shown you anything on tape, having watched them?
Well, I mean, he's a veteran player, and so anytime you sign a veteran player from another club, you're signing him for some of the traits that won't quite be the same, when he was brand new, but he's got the experience that you can't manufacture. So yeah, I mean, they're going to have to. And here's what D'Amico's doing with his defense. I mean, he bogeys and moves them around, but I mean he'll bring different blitzes from different places, but using those guys down front, to be able to either crack a protection spot and open up a place for Petrie or some of those guys on the back end to come through, or run some games. They do a lot of movement up front, and so he's always been very, very good at that.
He's Coach Dave McGinnis. He's the best in the business. Titans Radio, the best in the business. But it goes to Oilers Radio this weekend for the last time this season as the Titans host the Texans on Sunday. Noon, the kickoff. Titans countdown an hour before that. And, of course, the League Company countdown to kickoff, where Blaine Bishop, Mickey Ryan, Kayla Anderson, and myself will get you started at 9 a.m. Back at home, Mac, this weekend. A little more room to work, a little better view for you. And I look forward to seeing you in your booth on Sunday, buddy.
Yeah, Bucks. Can't wait to see you and Lucas both. Let's go get this done on the second Oilers game.
We will certainly see what happens on Sunday. That's the main man, Coach Dave McGinnis, made possible by Two Rivers Ford on his way out to practice. Did you forget about Derek Barnett?
I did. I saw that he had gotten picked up by the Texans and didn't think about it after that.
They haven't had much success getting after the quarterback, and even Will Anderson. I mean, listen, he's a rookie. I'm not gonna judge him too hard as a rookie as he tries to get his feet under him. Probably their best pass rusher, most talented pass rusher, certainly. But they haven't had a ton of success, and we'll see what D'Amico Ryan's version of his defense in Houston looks like once he gets some more firepower over the course of the next couple of seasons. And certainly they have draft capital to kind of rearm that. But right now, I mean, the list of names that I just read, this is not the Texans. This is last year's Texans team that the Tennessee Titans are getting ready to play.
Pretty much. Different coaching staff.
C.J. Stroud, again, Nico Collins, Will Anderson. I keep butchering this man's name. I need to learn it. Tavier Thomas, Blake Cashman, George Fant, not practicing and all not playing Sunday against the Titans. That's according to Aaron Wilson of KPRC 2 in Houston.
Who's the best pass rusher on the Houston Texans?
That's Derek Barnett right now. Malik Collins, the defensive tackle, has shown some stuff in interior pass rusher, but it's not like a bad defense when they're healthy, but they're not like an overwhelmingly talented defense. They're, Houston, for as big a leap as they have made, there are still some significant deficiencies on that roster. Phone calls, if you got them, 615-737-1045 is the number. I'm really excited for Friday Fire because I'm going to rope the two of you into my Friday Fire, and I'm also going to rope Bert into Friday Fire, and I'll explain why that's the case here in just a second. But Philip is calling us from Watertown. Hey, Philip.
Hi, guys. How's it going?
Great.
Yeah, so I'm going to be going to the Titans game on Sunday. It's be my first game going since, Jake Locker was our quarterback.
Oh, my God.
So it's been a while. I don't know if they've had it, introducing, new restaurants in the stadium. Do you guys have any suggestions about where I could go while I'm there?
Slim and Huskies, Philip. Slim and Huskies is in the stadium.
Little pizza there. Thank you for the call, Philip. When's the last time you ate at the concession stand at Nissan Stadium? Maybe a concert?
When Nashville SC was playing there over 2 years ago?
I don't think I've ever eaten at the concession stand. No, that's not true. Well, the ones on the field for the CMA Fest, I haven't been to CMA Fest probably since I moved here. That's been almost 9 years. So I think there's a Martin's.
There is a Martin's.
Because it's like they went super local with it. So I know Slim and Huskies is in there, which, by the way, great local business. The original location is just a couple of blocks from my house over there on Buchanan. Slim and Huskies is amazing. So, yes, try it. Martin's also phenomenal. I don't know what else is over there, though. We have a lounge that's about 150 feet from my seat, and that's where I go to eat.
A lounge, he says.
That's what it's called. It's a press lounge. What do you call it?
I don't know. Just lounge. Lounge coming from you sounds more pretentious than lounge coming from anybody else.
You can't blame that on my tone. It literally says on the little like room identifier, like 111 Media Lounge.
Okay.
It's a press box.
Can't get bottle service back there though. Not a real lounge. 615-737-1045 is the number. Football Fred says, don't eat the stadium food, just get drinks. Well, that's if you have not been to a Titans game since Jake Locker, I'm not going to encourage you to overindulge, unless you do so safely and in the company of people who are there to support you if you do overindulge. But, yeah, a lot of things have changed since Jake Locker was last quarterbacking for the Tennessee Titans.
Kevin Dyson, the legend of the game. So we'll hear from KD late in the second half. That'll be cool. And Billy White Shoes Johnson, Ring of Honor, right?
Yeah, they are going to officially put him into the Ring of Honor. They had a bunch of the players. They had Derek doing the Billy White Shoes Johnson dance. What's it? Funky Chicken?
Funky Chicken.
Funky Chicken. NWI's got it down. Alshare looked the most awkward doing it. I think it's tough. They had them in full pads. Like, I don't know how they're supposed to do the Funky Chicken in full pads, but what are you going to do?
Chad on the F&M Bank chat says, eating at the stadium requires a second mortgage.
Oh, is it that bad?
I think that's just generally the stadium food across the country.
All right, so the only, I've been to a couple of Preds games this year, but I've gotten Lexus Lounge tickets, so I have not had.
There he is again with the lounge.
It's literally called, no.
Yep.
It's the opposite
Fine,
of that,
please.
actually. You don't pay in the Lexus Lounge.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you're saying that like it offers anything to the conversation.
No, damn it. I'm trying to. What I'm trying to say is the only stadium that I've bought food from in this city is Nashville SC, and I don't feel like I'm getting gouged.
Jodas Park has great stadium food.
Yeah, like the stadium food there is fine. Like, I mean, what it's like what are the, I'm going to sound like a snob again. It's like what could a slice of pizza possibly cost? Like, if you charge me $7 for a slice of pizza, I'm probably not going to pay attention. Is that expensive?
For a slice, yes.
Isn't that what they charge? Isn't it like $7 for a slice of pizza? I mean, that doesn't sound like the worst thing in the world.
Stadium food is expensive. It's just kind of a general. It's a generality in American sports.
My point is it more expensive at Bridgestone versus Nissan versus?
I find
Jodas?
it's all on a similar plane. Unless you have a lounge.
Hey, listen, you don't make fun of the lounge. You're only mad at the lounge because you haven't been to the lounge.
Oh, I've been to the lounge. I just don't brag about it like you. It's your tone. It's your tone.
Not my. It's my voice. I can't do. It's like my face. I can't do anything about my face.
Botox.
Well, that I can.
And have.
Friday Fire's next. The Tennessee Men's Clinic will get you back to performing like you haven't in years. If you feel like your performance has struggled lately, if you feel like ED is starting to creep up on you, it's all right. Don't freak out. Get the support system that you need to make sure that you get a treatment plan that makes the most sense for you. ED happens to a lot of guys. As you get older, your body starts to change. These things are completely natural. There's no reason to be super negative about it. But the worst thing that you can do is just ignore the problem, like so many of us do, and hope that it gets better. The Tennessee Men's Clinic will get you back right and make sure that they get you the best treatment path that makes the most sense for you. Like I said, they have an experienced staff who has helped thousands of guys in this area, and they can do the same for you. So visit them in their downtown Nashville offices or in their newest offices in Cool Springs, or go online at theTennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Well, there's worse ways to get into Friday Fire than Dolly Parton. Welcome back to the show. Happy to have you guys here until 1 o'clock. Do we want to do a phone call before we do Friday Fire? Why not? Ronnie in Spring Hill has been waiting patiently. Hey, Ronnie. Happy Friday.
Hey, Dave. How's it going?
It's going
Hey,
great.
I was under the impression that NFL had banned cell phones on the sidelines for the games. Is that true? Still true?
Cell phones just generally? Well, I'm not sure. Are you talking about like for players?
Yeah, yeah, mostly.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I mean,
the
I don't
other
think
night
they're supposed to like. I don't think there's like. Your microphone isn't on, Lucas.
There we go again. Ronnie, if this is in reference to the Tyreek Hill incident where he took someone's phone and did a flip while videoing himself and that person's credential got taken away, that was an instance where a player is using a phone as a prop.
Yeah, like they can't use it as a prop if that's what you're asking, Ronnie.
Oh, no, I just was thinking that they said that his wife had texted him and told him to get his ass back in that ball game. So
whose wife?
Tyreek's, which is, by the way, Kenny Vaccaro's sister. How great is that? Thank you for the call, Ronnie. I learned that the other day that Kenny Vaccaro's sister is engaged. I don't think they're married yet, but they're engaged to, or she is engaged to Tyreek Hill. How would you like to have him as a stepbrother or a brother-in-law? Oh my God, I love Kenny, but I'm scared bleepless of him.
Have you heard Joe Montana talk about using the phone on the sideline to dial out? Joe Montana has told this story where on the sideline, you talk to your offensive coordinator if he's up in the booth on the telephone. It's just a regular phone. And do they still have the phones in the NFL? I know they do in college. You see just regular,
they have the
handheld telephones.
It's the only time I've ever seen a phone with a cord still attached to it.
Yeah, it's the only, in modern days, that's the only time you see it. But Joe Montana talked about how he was on the sideline and he had the phone and he thought, I wonder if this thing, if you could just call anyone. And so he dialed his home phone number and his wife picked up and she's like, what are you doing? He's like, just saying hi, like on the sideline of a football game.
Just chilling.
Love you. But she's like, hang the phone up.
What's for dinner? Apparently they got married last month. Kenny Vaccaro's sister and Tyreek Hill. So congratulations to them. Somebody's asking the F&M Bank chat if they're doing anything for Y-Check on Sunday. I don't know the answer to that question. I didn't see anything about it in the game release. I mean, I'm sure that they'll have something on the Jumbotron, I'm sure at some point or something like that. The man's in especially if they're doing a Ring of Honor thing for White Shoes, then I would imagine there would be something for Y-Check.
Who was an Oiler.
Yes. So I don't know of anything specifically, and I didn't see anything like we haven't been told anything specifically, but that doesn't mean that they don't have something prepared or won't do something. So we'll see. Okay. Friday Fire.
Buck Rising is one of the least positive people on the planet. So to combat that, we've installed a new segment where he's forced to be positive. Sponsored by Central Barbecue. This is Friday Fire.
Because it's Friday, you ain't got no job, and you ain't got shit to do.
It is indeed presented by Central Barbecue. EatCBQ.com for lunch, dinner, or catering. They got you. Bringing their world-famous Memphis-style barbecue right here to Music City over there in Hillsboro Village. EatCBQ.com, like I said. So, what's your Friday Fire this week? 615-737-1045. Mine is going to be a team effort because I saw this on Instagram while I was scrolling during a commercial break, okay? They are having a vote. So the Nashville Zoo, recently there were just 3 Sumatran tiger cubs that were born at the Nashville Zoo, okay? And on their Instagram page, they are announcing that they are taking votes on what to name the tiger cubs. They are matching donations for what it would cost to name the tiger cubs, and it's going to go to the Tiger Conservation Campaign, so it's of course for a good cause. I want to name one of the tiger cubs Bert. I want to name it after Rob. Maybe we won't name it Bert. We'll name it Robert Lee Walsh, but then maybe we'll get in trouble. I don't know if you can name kids Robert Lee anymore. Either way, I want a tiger cub named Bert. I mean, it would be good to donate to this anyway under normal circumstances. But if it can also serve show content purposes, if anybody at the Nashville Zoo is within the sound of my voice, I'm willing to make, I'm not going to volunteer anybody else's money, but I'm willing to make a donation to name this Tiger Cub Bert. One of them.
I would contribute to your donation. Like, would that up our chances if we could just have one donation?
Sure, but I can't volunteer your money for the purposes of me getting a call from HR afterwards. So
sure,
that's why you have to then jump on board with my cause.
I'm on board with this. We could do a remote at the Nashville Zoo. We can have Bert the Tiger as a guest.
Okay, wait. You're getting all kinds of different departments involved that I'm going to have to get calls from after this. But I would do a show at the Nashville Zoo if they'll name this thing Bert. Also, sales, if you are within the sound of my voice, let's do a remote at the Nashville Zoo so we can get this Tiger Cub named for Bert.
Are you
right in front of the tiger cages? That's where it needs to be.
I would like Bert in the tiger cage.
Yes.
Which Bert? The tiger you're naming? Or
our Bert.
No, I want Bert in the cage with the tigers.
With Bert the Tiger.
It's like mother of dragons, father of tigers.
Are you a zoo guy?
Am I a zoo guy?
Yeah. Like, did you enjoy going to zoos as a kid?
Yeah. I've been to a variety of different zoos.
It's the best zoo that you've ever been to?
Oh, what a question. Central Park Zoo. Central Park Zoo got a lot of cool things going on. Never been to San Diego Zoo's famous. Does Busch Gardens in Tampa count? Because Busch Gardens is crazy. I mean, I know it's a theme park. It's kind of like saying Disney World's a zoo. It's not a zoo really, but they have all kinds of animals all over the place. And Florida is basically like a foreign country anyway.
Florida, just the whole state of Florida is just a zoo.
That's right.
Yeah.
What's an Indiana zoo like?
Oh, the one in Evansville is called Mesker Park Zoo and Botanical Gardens.
I've been to the one in Indianapolis.
I have not been to the Indianapolis Zoo.
It's all right.
It's like everything else in Indiana.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Dark and gray.
I've never seen the sun in my home state. Never seen the sun. That doesn't exist, I'm pretty sure. But yes, anybody at the zoo within the sound of my voice, talk to me.
Real quick, my Friday Fire. We get so tired of athletes, teams doing the nobody believed in us bit, right? Georgia was the most glaring example of that last year.
Well, if nobody actually believes in them, I'm down. But
sure.
if you're Georgia, shut up.
It's the most tired thing in sports when a team like Georgia, the most talented team in college football, literally the defending national champs, wins it again, like many people would have picked them to, and comes out and said they thought we were going to go 6-6. So my Friday Fire is Kayvon Thibodeau, the Giants pass rusher, who, by the way, turns 23 today. So happy birthday to Kayvon Thibodeau.
No, you can't do it without telling him he's doing something else.
Oh, that's okay. Kayvon Thibodeau is rightfully getting a lot of praise right now. He has 11.5 sacks. He's having a breakout season, despite the Giants being a generally bad football team this year. And he tweeted 2 days ago at Kayvon T on Twitter, "Thanks for all the recognition, but I'm not a victim, and quote-unquote prove people wrong narratives are old. I'm playing good football and constantly getting better. Let's stop hanging on to old headlines."
You're not a little kid! You're 21!
Happy birthday, Kayvon.
Happy birthday, Kayvon Thibodeau.
A little delayed, but we got there.
We got there. Yes, I'm pro that. Jackson, you have one?
Yes, I am going. I like pettiness. I think it brings balance to our world. And so that is my Friday Fire. Wanye Thomas, a DB for the Cowboys, quote tweeted a fan from March of 2022 where he announced his transfer from the Cowboys fandom to the Chargers fandom and said, "Damn, bro, grass greener." Wanye Thomas, you were my Friday Fire. That was excellent. You kept receipts from 2022. That is miraculous.
The internet's not good for a lot of things, but pettiness 100%. All right, that's Friday Fire presented by Central Barbecue. So, the Titans offense, what will it look like against the Texans? Greg Cosell liked what he saw from the rookie quarterback. We'll talk about it next.
It is 12:02. Good afternoon. I'm Lucas Panzica from the 104.5 The Zone studios. NFL news this morning. The Los Angeles Chargers have fired head coach Brandon Staley and general manager Tom Telesco. Staley went 24-24 in his 2+ seasons as the head coach of the Chargers. This follows last night's Thursday Night Football loss to the Raiders. 63-21 was the final. The Tennessee Titans host the Houston Texans on Sunday at Nissan Stadium. Second Oilers throwback game of the season. Mike Vrabel will meet with media in about a half hour to update injuries for Sunday. The League Company countdown to kickoff hits the air at 9 a.m. on The Zone. Titans countdown is at 11, and kickoff with Mike Keith, Coach Mack, and the rest of the Titans radio crew is at noon. It's an NFL tripleheader on Saturday. Vikings and Bengals at noon. Steelers and Colts at 3:30. You can catch both of those games right here on The Zone, courtesy of Westwood One. Broncos and Lions kick off at 7:15. Tennessee football running back Jalen Wright, the first 1,000-yard rusher for the Vols since 2015, announced today he is declaring for the NFL draft. Wright not going to play in the Citrus Bowl New Year's Day against Iowa. Tennessee basketball in action Saturday night, taking on NC State in San Antonio. A 9 p.m. tip-off. Vol Network coverage starts on The Zone at 8:30. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.